Slender Man was our Halloween special? You fool! This is the real Nightmare Fuel. I mean, just look at it! How did we end up here? What even is the Amazing Bulk? Why is this a thing? And how have I never heard of this before? Oh my god! If you've never heard of the Amazing Bulk, then you're in for a treat, as it's quite a little rabbit hole. I hadn't heard about this film, but you guys actually managed to bring it to my attention. I was just sending out a tweet hinting about our next video that I like to do every Sunday. You should totally follow me and take part, by the way, at DazzReviews, tweeting hints every Sunday. But while I was insinuating Spy Kids 3D back in the day, because, you know, it's all green screen and pretty outdated in most places, you lot all settled on this Amazing Bulk film instead, and boy was that a shocker to look up on Google Images. Yeah, you can just tell that this is just beyond the most terrible thing we've ever covered on the channel. I mean, it's so bad, it practically doesn't have official reviews. No wonder it went under my radar. It's either getting a 1 star or 5. Yeah, that sounds about right. But opening up on a film like this, there is clearly a whole bunch more to take note of with the context of this film. Namely, the most obvious thing is looking at the budget. Clearly, this isn't an official film made by a fully decked out production team. This is an independent film. So in a sense, it feels a little meaner to be laughing and shooting down something that is legit someone's passion project as opposed to the hollow, money-chasing antics of robotic executives at a company, you know? But at the same time, the Amazing Bulk actually has a bit of history on YouTube, with the director being known for taking a really good approach to criticism with his response to YouTuber I Hate Everything's video on it. That being said, I don't hate this film. In all honesty, I found this film to be very entertaining. Sure, it's completely for all the wrong reasons, but I did vocally laugh out loud at some points. Would I spend actual money on it? Yes, and I did. It's rentable on YouTube Movies. Gotta spend that spare Mulan money from boycotting it, I guess. Plus, I tried making a film once entirely on green screen, and I can totally understand the trials of trying to make all that work. So let's finally get into things, shall we? So the film starts off with the Universal logo. Oh, okay, never mind. It's a template. So the film starts off with the Fox. Am I in a comedy? Yes. Yes, I am. Oh my god, it's in Comic Sans. Louis Schoenbrunn, you are a comedic genius. So we're taken to this cityscape at night. Is that the set of The Room? I mean, it lines up with the marketing. Jeez. And yeah, every single background asset in this entire film is produced entirely through stock images found online. And with the way this lady is walking in this composition, it feels like I'm watching some adaptation with Mortal Kombat 1 graphics. She walks this way and that way, barely connected in logic through 12 different compositions before stopping in an alleyway and getting assaulted.
Why don't you suck on this instead?
Oh, this was not the first line I was expecting. Ah! He's just there! That wasn't even... That doesn't... Then the girl dies, while screaming, by the way. The mugger shoots Bulk in the most convincing manner possible, screams, and then I guess is dead? And Booty Thanos just flees the crime. Why is he running like that, though? This way and that way, away from the crime scene. And that's the opening of the Amazing Bulk. Well, I have no legs, but I can still tell you that we're in for a wild ride. I might have shot this after I realized I haven't got my legs in this shot, and I can't fit them in. My room's not as long as an actual... Yeah, right, back to the video. He didn't even save the day! So, as you'd expect, our title card is just a bunch of stock images and purple Comic Sans, only the best for the Bulk. So now our detectives are on the scene, and if you thought the graphics were bad, now there's the acting, cause boy, these guys are wooden. And I love that these green screen angles are all wrong. It's understandable to get the lighting wrong, I mean that's hard to manage, but how do you skip out on the storyboarding as well? I never had a problem with that. Well, I guess we're off, what a transition. Yes, we need to know what just happened one day earlier, I am very lost. Oh my god, look at the table, look at it, it's the wrong color, it's the wrong angle, oh I love everything about it. So our protagonist and his science friend are doing the science. The dialogue is choppy and amateur, all exposition and very poorly recorded too. But on the topic of Hannah, the protagonist's girlfriend, it soon turns to...
the girl with the great personality and the great assets to match?
Sexualizing 2 out of 3 female characters so far. Classy. So our guy says he plans to propose to Hannah and get permission from her dad, General Darwin. Darwin. And as the scene continues, the rat test vanishes through a failed serum. Then Hannah appears and takes him away. Why is it made in paint? Aisles and aisles of toy shop? What even is the color palette of this world? Is it a cool neon vibe like we saw earlier, or am I in Kiddieland? Where's my saturation supposed to be here? So this car scene, it doesn't even really have dialogue.
No shop talk. This is our time.
Like, why is it even here? Oh, I love jogging. This is so much fun. Am I on drugs? So they have an emotional moment with Henry chewing gum the whole time, because he's cool like that, and she wants kids, and is worried he's prioritizing his experiment too much. And then they move on. Oh god, look at the table layering again. Look at it, the table! And the rat! Oh, this just gives too much. So the scientists talk about that conversation that just happened, and try more science. Shown off with this fancy pants totally real montage, and honestly, if I was able to put all of this together to effectively show a montage, I'd probably be pretty pleased with it, even though it's just like the same two science clip art clips put together. But anyway, they inject red into this rat this time, and the same thing happens. Sure this isn't because you're putting in like a quarter of their total body weight into their system? And the scene ends with, I kid you not, a freeze frame that fades away. Oh god, I love how corny this film is.
Maybe Billy 238 will be the lucky one.
So Henry visits the girlfriend's mansion to seek the dad's approval. You know, you kind of get used to the CGI after a while. Takes us back to those old school PC games, I guess.
I hate dust.
Thanks, ADR Dad. What kind of robotic NPC are you? All of his audio is just terrible.
Wait, don't speak. There could be spies listening.
What? Then they try to sell a real referencing Star Trek joke, but it isn't funny. That's tragic. But you know what is funny? The way these guys are just slipping on the floor in the basement. Fantastic. This film, I don't think it realizes where its funny beats are. So Henry says his thing, the dad rejects in his terrible audio ways, and Henry leaves in a strop. Well, you've made it this far into the video, so congrats to you, and since you're enjoying it so far, do consider subscribing. Only you can help balance out my skewed unsub ratio count, and as of now on the channel, we are rolling into double uploads, uploading same time but on Mondays and Fridays, all the way to the rest of the year. I'm a busy boy. In fact, actually, there's more to it than that. We are now officially starting streaming as of today. Today is Friday, and we're going to be streaming Pikmin 3 Deluxe all through the weekend as a little bonus, and then we're rolling into our usual weekly routine. Here are some schedules. That's also going to continue all the way into 2020. So do please check us out. It's literally the first stream official today, a couple hours probably after this video comes out, but still, check the link, come on over, come say hi. Man, bulk is quite the workout. I just shot the jogging shop, but Meanwhile, in some vampire castle, oh my god, look at the dog! Look at the dog! This interior is nothing like I expected for the outside thing. And also, am I in a porn parody? Why the wig and everything else? How are the guards connected to this? Okay. So this ugly mob boss looking guy comes in, the boyf of this lady here, our third out of 4 sexualized female characters. And the topic of this conversation goes to...
Oh, that's right. I forgot. There's nothing going on downstairs.
But why the close-up on the dog? Anyway, she's told not to gyrate in front of the guards, and our, I guess, villain decides to electrocute one of them for making a gesture at him when he's not looking. But he does it right in front of him? And they move on.
Would you like something, hard?
Yes, yes!
Alright, this suddenly stopped being fun. Monkey. I don't know why he's here either. They were actually talking about explosive rockets, pressing buttons to send them off with Mozart playing in the background, and after so many real-life rocket shots, for like 3 minutes, they choose to blow up this institute of German scientists. Convincing.
Make love to me like you used to.
Oh no, you silly woman, you know I can't do that anymore.
I don't even have a comment on this. So they blow up several more landmarks instead. This is the gentlest terrorism I think I've ever seen. Moving on, we're at a carnival from the 90s now, apparently, according to this old footage, and as Harry is about to pop the question, she legit interrupts him because of...
Oh my god. Hank, a roller coaster.
Where do you think you are? So they get on one, and you can really feel the heat of the moment on that roller coaster. The wind, the momentum, the immersion. Though then it transitions to a train line, which I guess isn't terrible. Anyway, here Henry tries again to pop the question and is mugged instead, losing the ring he was going to propose with, and putting up a fight for it. Oof. Anyway, next they're in a sports car? How? What? What? And they put wheels over the clip-art wheel. Oh my god. So Hannah is dropped off and Henry continues at the lab even more, getting real desperate at this point, discovering purple and having it work on a plant. Very consistent science here. Upset that it's still not enough, Henry then tests more on himself now. You'll never guess where this goes. Oh no, the table! Not the table! Oh, Henry's normal. Walking this way and that way. Okay. So he sees the opening sequence, gets really mad, and turns into whatever this is. Unpolished facial animations and all. He hunts for the ring and turns back into the Bulk to run away. Actually, I don't think he's ever going to actually be referred to as the Bulk in this entire film. Anyway, somehow the villain Can't Love ended up with it. Okay. Henry is approached by those detectives, learns a little of what happened last night, and the bold one figures that he's the murderer because he knew the mugger killed the prostitute, not the other way around. Also, somehow he spread some purple or something. Alright. So Henry revisits the crime scene and the detectives confront him, only for him to, surprise, surprise, turn into the Bulk. What follows next is probably the most ridiculous sequence of events I think I have ever seen.
Well, it ain't Barney the purple dinosaur.
They shoot him in the giganticized gut, and he runs, and the detectives follow through all sorts of assets in this really unconvincing side shot. Through an airport, some docking containers, sliding onto the street, sometimes it's both of them, sometimes it's just the bald guy or the girl on her own, and you'd think after a while they'd clue on to the fact that the bullets aren't doing anything and they should try something else. Meanwhile, Bulky Boy here is just consistently running to and fro, bumming into any asset conveniently in the shot, and everything he touches literally explodes. Sometimes the cars even flip through him as he runs. And it's clear Lewis ran out of background assets here, as I'm pretty sure that's the same alleyway they just started in, and here's the same street running back and forth through it multiple times. Adding further to that, there's this CGI helicopter that comes in with its 12 polygons or something to try and report on the events, and their audio just gets worse and worse over time. The chase scene is still going on, again another like 3 minutes later, hitting low resolution cars and even Bulk being low resolution sometimes, until eventually... The timing of this just tickles me. Literally like some YouTube cartoon. It's so comedically on beat. Anyway, what I actually mean is eventually one car flips onto the female detective. Lisa was apparently her name. Also, hey, that's the one non-sexualized female character. Now she's dead. Nice. And as the helicopter apparently is still coming closer for that good shot... Ugh! That's the realest jump scare I think I've gotten all month! I feel like I could slap the Valve logo onto the back of that head, and it's the only shot of its kind. Everything else is just reused animations that you've pretty much already witnessed up to this point. And that's the end of that. Bulk walks somberly to a standstill, returns into Henry, and the bold detective tries to kill him right there.
Oh. Now for plan B.
Oh boy, so Henry's in jail, unsure if it's been 10 days or 10 years. It's been 10 seconds. And our bald detective returns again to pull a gun on him in prison. Is that legal? Anyway, General Darwin comes in to save him.
What's up, Doc?
What? That literally makes no sense. So apparently this was exactly the results that they were hoping for. Darwin is the real villain in the end. Meanwhile, our weird rocket lover villains are dancing and now planning to upgrade and blow up the moon. Cue even more classical music underlying some rocket footage, though this time it's so dramatic that the art of piecing together their ultimate weapon even causes the reverse rotation of the Earth. Well, isn't that something? Totally not poor repetitive editing at all. So after all of that has passed for another 3 minutes, Henry is in some kind of electro cage. I legitimately can't tell if it's a window or a TV screen. Still, he's now being hired as the hero who can stop the rocket villains, and in return he'll get an antidote, and his experiment will create super soldiers of the future, as Darwin wants. And Henry reluctantly accepts for the sake of marrying his daughter, which he now has approval for, apparently. Also, Darwin's ADR changes like halfway through the scene.
You're the only hope mankind has of surviving. So would it be wise to get serious?
Lovely. Alright, finale time. Henry is flown in through the least convincing helicopter interior we've seen so far. I guess all the budget went to the reporter's one, who never really came to do anything mentionable in the actual story, because I mean, this helicopter has like literally no shape on the inside. It's just like shaking 2D rectangles. So Henry lands in Vampire Town and goes for a jolly jog. Meanwhile, the super rocket is now bright yellow and heading to the moon with the most realistic animations and timings for landing I think I've ever seen. And with the villain's detonation, it turns out to be foiled by Monkey. I still don't really know why he's here. Now it's sunset. Daytime. Yay! He got a hole-in-one. It's Ireland. Wind turbines? Fantasyland? And destination. Yikes. I guess they really just wanted to use the last of their assets. Henry gets angry with the help of a picture of Darwin in his pocket that I guess he's just always had, and he just wrecks the place. There's an Indiana Jones ball that quickly changes quality depending on what graphic they're using. The guards are constantly running away, and when one is cornered, he screams for a millennium. Bulk gets deformed in his animation for some reason, and the guard gets the Bigfoot. Here's some alien with the villain as he tells a brief story of a worse time, I guess. And Lolita, as her name apparently has been this whole time, is walking down the halls with the blindfold on, where Bulk is running through, only to discover,
My, oh my.
it's not fun anymore. Apparently, after actually seeing him, she loves his new unanimated face, and he promptly knocks her in the side of the head. Is that literally a spray-painted Hulk hand propped? Nice. Here's the dog with a goblin. No, it doesn't come back. And Can't Love, that's his name by the way, is running through the storage unit somewhere. He keeps talking to himself, the animation never gets any better, he's confronted by the Bulk, he pleads for his life, and he gets the Bigfoot. Henry calls for a mission success, and he's bombed. Turns out Darwin is even more of a villain than before. There is no antidote, and Henry's next to be killed. He turns into the Bulk, there's a CG archer now, as well as every asset known to exist, all being showcased under all that more classical music. And eventually, after running across the entire landscape of the Earth several times, passing the Gecko, writing on a laptop saying he is Gecko, and a random man in an unrelated plane, and everything else under the possible sun. I mean, I could literally keep talking in this line, adding no more to the actual video, and you will still have more assets that he just plonks in consistently underneath as footage, spontaneously exploding on a couple of occasions. Eventually, he is nuked. That's literally where the plot goes next. He's nuked. and the reaction when the daughter sees this is,
What's wrong?
gee boss, I have no idea what could possibly be wrong. So Hannah's upset after learning that Henry is dead, though she didn't put 2 and 2 together with the actual nuke part of the equation. And after the only non-screen shot in the whole film, Henry appears.
Hank.
His name's Hank? I could have sworn his name was Henry in the first half of the movie. Anyway, Hank proposes, tells her not to tell her dad that he's about, and Darwin appears anyway. They fight and both fall off the balcony, both are dead. I'm being serious here. I guess they really wanted to use those grave assets, because that's practically the ending.
Hey, Hank. It's me.
Oh, that makes sense now. So Hannah mourns at his gravestone, and then the bold detective appears too, now drunk and even worse at acting than before, and as he begins to pee on his grave, we get one final moment of a jump scare with 2 Bulk hands punching both sides of Baldy. And that's the end. After that, it's all just Comic Sans credits. Mwah, truly a masterpiece. And that's the story of the amazing Bulk. Guy has a science breakthrough, doesn't save anyone, runs away, kills people, gets captured, and then does a mission by stepping on people, getting nuked, returning home, dying by a balcony after all of that, and then coming back to life. As far as stories go, this is about as basic and unheroic it could possibly get. In a sense, I guess it's quite a dark parody of The Incredible Hulk, though apparently this film wasn't always intended to actually be a parody, it just turned out that way. Iconic. There's no way to save a film like this. Creating an entire production through just a green screen is impossible enough, but doing so without any serious assets is just a recipe for disaster no matter how great you may be. I tried it at university because my locations weren't working out. At least there I had screenshots of my IRL location to use as backgrounds. The film still didn't turn out good for a multitude of reasons, but hey, there was never going to be much hope for a film that presents itself like those GameCube Pokemon games. Regardless, this film is one of those ironically fantastic disaster pieces, kinda. I'm a big fan of watching terrible movies because for the right reasons or not, they're entertaining. And I sure as hell couldn't pass up green screening myself into this green screen film. But legit, this green screen formatting is so bad in this film that I actually struggled to green screen myself into it, you know? That's impressively bad. Furthermore, this film did get genuinely boring, even with all of this spectacle. It's slow, not too much happens, and when it does, it overstays its welcome for minutes after minutes after minutes. Everyone and their mother knows this film is bad. The director has certainly been told about it several times, but man, this is easily the worst film I have ever witnessed. Student experiments included. There are no characters, there's no themes, there's no anything. And I would say it's a tad impressive to have made all of this on such a minimal budget, but look how many crew members were included in this production. That's a crazy amount of help for how poor it all was. Look, there's even an on-line editor. I made all of this by myself. I'm not crazy proud of it as a legit short film, but this is just unfathomable. And the constant sexual tones make me feel like a teenager made this. It's slimy and gross, more so than Big Boy over here. So thank you for exposing me to the wondrous delights that are this film, those of you who respond to my tweets. Independent films are a bit of a tricky business to find and feel okay shooting down, but if there's more of these kind of things you'd be interested in me covering, you're more than welcome to send me some suggestions. I don't exactly know where to start searching for them, so I'll leave it to you. Do it on our Discord and I'm guaranteed to see it, and a lot of these are some pretty good calls. I may be making some of these right now, who knows, but otherwise I really need to just sit down and not think about any of this again. The comedy just writes itself, however unintentionally. But yeah, I'm getting out of here. For now, mine has been Daz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit.
Well now, this is probably the weirdest video film I think I've ever covered before. It's all because it's an independent, but if you've got suggestions for future things, please let me know. This was the best background, I think my favourite of the bunch, so of course I'm coming right back to it, but seriously, green screening into this film? It's actually kind of difficult, unless I just want to do a bunch of mid-shots that I don't fit in. Oh well. Anyway, do check out the stream, please. I'm doing my busy stuff all through the year. It helps out a bunch, and I'm doing a million things because I'm a workaholic, and I really like being active. But not physically. This is as physical as it gets. Ooh, not even mental. It's just work busy. Oh, I have no life. Bye, guys. Oh, you were faking it the whole time? How? I never noticed.